Hi, this is Majinoni, and I thought I'd do another video for, let's talk about Marvel history, since I haven't done one of these in a long, long time. And with the Avengers movie and everything, I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to do the Kree-Skrull War. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Kree-Skrull War um, was during the Avengers 89 through issues 97. And basically, it was just the brainchild of Roy Thomas and Sal Buscema and Neil Adams and John Buscema. Now, this wasn't necessarily the basic idea of let's generate as much sales as humanly possible because we have to take over market share. You know, like the way these types of events are being, done now. What it basically was Roy Thomas going, we have these two alien races. We have the Kree and the Skrulls. They don't like each other. They've been flying around through space all this time, and nobody's really doing anything with them in the sense of a conflict. So let's go ahead and maybe do like a war between them, and put Earth in the middle. Kind of like imagine a World War II situation where the Pacific Islands was an important staging area. So that's how, I guess, they envisioned the Earth and the conflict. Now, since Stan Lee really wasn't doing anything at the time, and he was writing less, that was the perfect opportunity for Roy Thomas to throw his idea out. Now, one thing that I found that it's kind of, it's kind of like different compared to most stories that are being told now is, when this started, this wasn't like a big bang first issue, like somebody had to die in the very first issue to start the ball rolling and to generate sales. This was basically, they told the story in such a way where you had no concept, no clue what was to come. So basically, what we had was the Avengers, and this wasn't even the heavy hitter Avengers. This was the Vision, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, Vision, and Goliath Avengers. And basically what happens is Captain Marvel shows up and he gets into some little bit of trouble. And it's not the trouble that you think, it's just that there's, he's basically, he goes to the Fantastic Four because what he's trying to do is he's trying to separate himself from Rick Jones type thing, because Rick's in the negative zone. And due to some misunderstandings along the way, he doesn't trust the Avengers. The Avengers go, hey, wait a second, you're in serious trouble with your health. There's radiation stuff going. We need to get you some assistance. But, Captain Marvel doesn't know who they are, so there's a little bit of conflict type thing. From there, we get them saving Captain Marvel, which leads them eventually to basically, there was an island where a Kree Ronin, the Accuser, was at. And basically what they were doing is they were tampering with genetics. And what Ronin's idea was to basically put everybody to Neanderthals. And then that way they can take over the world type thing. Well, there was some scientists on that island, and then once they were saved, they basically started spewing, there's Kree, there was an alien invasion, and we're all in danger. Now, what kind of reminded me a lot of, like, in terms of the plot points to, like, for an example, the X-Men, and we've seen this other times with the Avengers, where you had, and even Spider-Man to that effect, you have this crazy politician-type guy who basically decides, hey, you know what, I'm going to make a name for myself, and I'm going to start installing hysteria, and then I basically want the Avengers to be dismantled. Now, I'm not going to give the entire storyline for him away, but I'm giving a very, very high overview of what's going on with that. There's actually a lot more to that. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of stuff going on already, and we haven't even gotten to the Kree-Skrull War part. Eventually what happens is Ronin gets word that there is the invasion, or the war, and that's when he leaves. Now, one thing I thought was also interesting, and, it was basically a nod to the old Marvel history was, if you remember, it was in, I think it was Fantastic Four 2, where you had the Skrulls, and the Skrulls that got turned into cows. Well, they're also involved in this issue. And there's a lot of deception and a lot of crazy, I'll word it as crazy antics with the Skrulls. Now, I think what the one thing I really liked about this way of storytelling is, just imagine you're reading this when you're a kid, and, you have no idea what's coming. All you're getting is little pieces of the puzzle. Okay, there's Ronin. Oh my goodness, now there's Skrulls. Oh, there's a war going on. And, it's like this nice build-up. This way they were able to tell their story at such a pace where you never got bored because you were waiting for the big battle type thing. You took every issue as it was, and then when the story unfolded, then you were treated with this amazing reward of the big battle in space. Now, Neil Adams comes in basically on this issue here, where you have the Vision. He got shot by the 3 cows, so to speak, and Ant-Man basically goes inside the Vision to repair him. And some of this artwork was really, really well done, considering the time period. And we got a nice idea of what the Vision was like inside. Now, speaking of the Vision, around this time, what we also get treated to is the relationship between Vision and Scarlet Witch. Now, you can tell that there's tension between the two in terms of they want to go out. There's chemistry between the two. Scarlet Witch basically offers her hand, so to speak, and the Vision's like, there's no way I can go out with you because of the fact that I'm an android. Androids aren't supposed to do that kind of thing. You're a human. Of course, Scarlet Witch has her own issues with being a mutant type thing. And on top of that, then you also get the Vision overreacting when the fact that you mentioned Wanda, and then she's captured type thing. You also get Vision going a little psycho and punching out a Skrull type thing. And it was like it was an interesting way that they were building up that relationship. It was like little bits and pieces along the way, and I liked the fact of how they were able to take their time with it, and they didn't have to feel like it. Let's rush this thing. So eventually, what happens is you have the Avengers, some Avengers captured. You have the 3 core Avengers, Cap, Iron Man, and Thor coming back into play. And you also have the Inhumans involved in this. And so there's a lot. It was just like, basically, it was just awesome storytelling on top of awesome storytelling. Because remember, you have no clue. There's no diamond previews or anything like that. You're reading this thing and it's like, oh my god, now I get the Inhumans. What else is there to come type thing. And it was like really, really well done. Now, the one thing I will say is, I think with a lot of people who haven't read the Kree-Skrull War is you're maybe under the impression that from the very beginning it's just Kree-Skrull War battle. And that's not even the case, because it doesn't have, the actual fighting doesn't happen until the very, very end time part of the story. And we do get treated to some space battles between the Kree and the Avengers and the Skrulls type thing, but it's not like it's the primary focus of the entire storyline. And I have the feeling some people are going to be a little bit turned off by that, while other people will probably just appreciate it for what it is in terms of the build up, and then you get your payday type thing. Now, overall, I really did like the storyline, but I really don't think that this really would have translated well in terms of a movie. Like, for example, if they did the Kree-Skrull War with the Avengers movie, just because, this is just a small portion of the actual event, and there's so much other stuff that would have had to have been cut out, because there's, they would never have been able to introduce the Inhumans and Ronin, the Mandroids, and all that other stuff. They would only really be able to focus just on those last few pages, and then we would have gotten, battles that way. Plus, and I forgot to also mention, we do get Annihilus in there. And, because, Rick Jones is in the negative zone, so he makes an appearance there. And also you have a lot of the World War II type heroes with Captain America. You have the Patriot, the Vision, the Submariner, the Human Torch, Blazing Skull. Because they basically, like Rick Jones, it's like basically like the Supreme Intelligence was trying to basically show Rick Jones that, the Skrulls and the Kree have basically, they're maxed out on evolution. They're never going to get any better. But humans have this greater capability within them. And he basically got Rick Jones to unleash this power that was inside of him. And part of that power was to bring forth these old classic heroes to fight in the conflict. And by the time we were done with it, we also do get the, I guess you can say a resolution between Rick Jones and Captain Marvel as well. Now, this trade is actually, the one thing I thought that made this trade a little bit more special was you did get, original artwork. I mean, not really original artwork in the sense of actual, dimension sizes. But what it is you get a copy of the original pencil work that Neil Adams did for that Vision Avengers issue. And just looking at this, untouched was really, I guess you can say it's like a treat because, Neil Adams was probably one of the greater pencilers at the time. And just to see this type of artwork I thought was really nice. Now, on top of that, we also get the covers, because Marvel did a special edition of the Kree-Skrull War, where it was I think one or two not trades, but thicker deluxe issues. So we get those covers, and we also get a prologue type story, where it basically does a rehash of everything that happened in this trade. And there's also more original artwork here. Now, overall, like I said, I thought this was a great story, great read. But I do want to warn you guys, if you do read this storyline, don't expect epic space battle from the beginning. Now, I guess you can say what's important about this issue here is, for this trade, is if you look in the overall grand scheme of Marvel, it really, you had the Fantastic Four with the Skrulls and things like that. I mean, that was primarily a Fantastic Four character. The Kree were around, but they really weren't, I guess you can say as well known as the Skrulls were. So what this did was it really brought the Kree to the forefront. It really set a tone between the hatred between the two races, because basically the Skrulls wanted to commit genocide on the Kree, which, of course, if you were a Kree warrior at the time, you can really understand why they would be a little upset. On top of that, it also, I think it can also explain, to a certain degree, I guess you can say, how advanced the Kree and the Skrull were. And in a way, part of me thought that Marvel might have basically painted themselves in the corner, saying the Kree and the Skrulls were at their the most advanced they'd ever get. But at the same time, I think it also shows a sense of desperation between the two races, where, if you imagine, if you were at the best that you could ever be right now, and no matter what you did, you could never overcome that. Not in 1 year, not in 10 years, not in 1,000 years. That's the best you're ever going to be. It kind of shows, I guess you can say, maybe a sense of, I don't want to say maybe not necessarily desperation, but you can see some maybe frustration and anger, and especially when you have another group that's similar to you in that respect, and the conflict that way. Now, overall, like I said, I mean, it's definitely worth a read, and especially with the way the Avengers are taking off in the movies, this is definitely probably one of the more important storylines in Marvel history, or in terms of the Avengers, I should say. anyways, if you have any comments or questions, let me know. Rate the video up or down. Let me know what you think. And I'm going to try to do more of these types of videos. These things just take a little bit more time to do. But anyways, I'll still try to do them. So until next time.